Okay, so I want to have a ball of clay that's about the size of like a grapefruit. And I'm just, it wasn't in a ball shape, and then I'm just hitting it in my hands to get rid of all the creases and things there. So I make one ball of clay, about a grapefruit size, get all the creases out, and I'm just doing that by hitting the clay in my hands. Okay, so it looks pretty good, no creases. Okay, second step is use a wire tool or fishing line and cut that in half, as close to right in half as you can. So then I have two halves that are pretty much the same. Actually, that one's a little bit, I can tell. Okay, and then I'm going to make each one of those into a ball. That's the next step to write down. Plastic. So set one aside, cover with plastic. Write that down. Set one aside, cover it with plastic. I will start and take my thumb and push my thumb right into the center of the ball of clay. Okay? And I try to just go straight down, and I try to feel on the other side to make sure I don't go too far through, because I want to leave it, you know, like at least a 1/4 inch thick between where my thumb and the other end of the clay is. Probably closer to like 3/8 of an inch, so a little thicker at that end. Okay? Now my next step will be basically between my thumb inside the clay, which I just, you can see, went right in. And then I'm going to take my thumb and my fingers on the outside with my fingers close together, and I'm going to gently squeeze the clay and rotate the clay around in my hand. And I'm going to work my way around the bottom first. So I'm basically making this little bowl shape. Work my way around the bottom of the bowl first. And I'm going to rotate this around and probably do like 2 or 3 passes all the way around. And just a little bit at a time. So you don't want to squeeze real hard. You're just doing a little bit, thinning it out a little bit at a time. So if you look right now, I've left the opening kind of smaller, but it's starting to get bigger on the inside. Can you see that? Maybe kind of shadowy, huh? Then I'm going to work, since I can feel the thickness between my thumb and my fingers, I'm going to get that to about that same thickness I left at the bottom. And then I'm going to move up and work my way around the middle of the bowl. And again, just a little bit of pressure at a time. And slowly rotate it around. Why do you think I keep my fingers close together when I'm doing this? So there's not weird lumps where in between my fingers, if I squoze the clay, it would make it stick up in between. So I keep my fingers together. Okay, so now see how it's getting bigger on the inside? But still keeping it fairly small. The rim of this, I will spread that out the very last. Thin out the rim very last. So now I'm going to move up to the rim and go around. It cracks a little, it might crack a little, it's okay. I'm leaving the rim a little bit thicker because when I combine the two halves together, I want to have a nice surface there to attach it to. Wherever I get those cracks, I can just basically smooth those out. I'm not really concerned. If you feel like the cracks are because your clay is getting dry or overworked, then you want to add water back in while you do this. Or you can even keep your fingers moist by just having like a damp paper towel that you keep on your hands. You know, dab your hands on it every so often. That will add water back into the clay because your hands do pull the water out of the clay. Definitely. I've got this basic kind of half egg shape going on. Notice the profile of it. It doesn't curve in anymore at the top of the bowl like it did before. So I have it coming up straight. So now to store this while I work on the other one, I'm going to store it upside down. So I don't flatten the base of the bowl. So same thing, thumb right into the middle. Don't go through too far. And then with my fingers on the outside, slowly rotate and pinch a little at a time, as evenly as possible. till I get the bottom kind of row. Think of like a lawnmower going a row at a time. And then I'll move to the middle of the bowl and do the same thing all the way around. And then I'll work my way up to the top. And now this part, I actually want to make sure that I'm making this the same size as the bottom, or sorry, as the first one I made, so that they'll match up. I'm going to check these and see if they match up. And if one seems a little bigger than the other, I can always take the smaller one and widen it a little bit. That's easier than bringing the bigger one in, but you can also bring the bigger one in by taking some clay away. Okay, but that looks like it matches up pretty close. Okay, what do you think I want to do now? Definitely want to score and slip. So, I'm going to use one of these handy forks that we got, because they're a little faster. Okay, so those are scored. This slip is a little thick. Okay, so I get the slip there, and then line them back up. Now what's important when you score and slip to do after you put the pieces together? Pressure. So I want to kind of carefully, without totally smashing this, press these edges together pretty well. This edge looks pretty smooth, like there's not an indent right where this edge is, then I probably could just take a wooden modeling tool like this and blend. But I will tell you a lot of times what happens with this when you put these two sides together is that it like caves in right at that edge. So what you would do if that happens is, so I'm going to roll out a coil. Fresh clay for coils, remember? I still see some people struggling making coils and they're trying to use like overworked or dry clay. Just make it easier on yourself and get a fresh piece for a coil. Okay, and then I can lay this coil right into that seam, and I'll kind of carefully smush it. I don't want to depress this balloon shape. Then I can take this coil and blend half of the coil up, half of the coil down. And that way you can see that profile creates, it's really actually very smooth. You won't see this seam once I finish getting that clay smoothed out. You want to make a nest for it for storage. So if I took a really, really fat coil and just made a little thing kind of like that, and maybe angle it out a little, and then it can sit in that and it will just kind of cradle it. I want to make a neck for like a person here. I'm basically just going to take a coil or a few coils, kind of spiral these up. And with coils, I can't just leave it like that. I have to blend it. So I take and blend that clay. Doesn't matter to do it on both sides, but I will do it on just the one. And this doesn't necessarily, if you're not making a person or a neck, you can still apply the same principle for other tube-like attachments that you might be making on it. So that could be a basic starting point for a neck, you know, that you can add the egg onto. If I'm going to do shoulders on a person, I actually will make a pinch pot. So I'll start with the ball of clay, thumb in the middle, pinch out from the bottom of the bowl, work my way up slowly, I'm trying to say. And then I'll take a wire tool and slice that in half. And then I have two shoulders that I can attach onto my neck. And I would score and slip these. Yeah, I would have done the neck taller, so it actually stuck up above the shoulders unless your person's like a... You can add stuff, shirt, you know, details and everything, but that's a basic, easy construction for like the shoulders if you want to do a person.